Some of you have been told that good design or UX leaders just need to know how to design within the lines. Just do this so we can get said thing out. Well, you see, that's a myth when it comes to this particular subject. For years, we've treated the tech stack as a developer's problem. You see, this mysterious black box that we just had to work around. But in today's world, that thinking is a massive career limiting mistake. Now, if you're a design leader or a UX leader or someone who is aspiring to be and you aren't deeply curious about your team's tech stack, you're not just falling behind, you're actively capping your team's and your own potential. And today I'm going to show you exactly why understanding the technology, specifically this shift to what we call a composable architecture, is the new non-negotiable skill for any leader who wants to truly do great work. What is this creative cage we're talking about? Well, we're talking about our past monolith, and to understand or to get why this is so important, we have to look back. Now, for decades, the digital world was built on a monolithic architecture. Now, the name says it all. Imagine this giant solid block of stone, a monolith, right? We understand the definition of that. Now, the front end, the beautiful interface your team designs, and the back end, all of the databases, the business logic, all of these things were fused together. Now, it had its advantages in a simpler time, so it was beneficial or useful for its purpose at a specific time period. You see, it was predictable. What was it for designers? It was a creative cage ultimately. We've been to those meetings, right? All of us have at some point in time. You see, where you have a brilliant user-centric idea, but it gets shot down because it's too hard to implement. That's the response that we may receive. Now, that phrase is a direct result of a monolithic architecture or that kind of environment. So it's not the fault of the person who perhaps have said it, because they too were boxed in by the limitations of the architecture. You see, it created a world where technology dictated the user experience, not the other way around. Now, making a small change like tweaking a checkout flow, for example, see, this was a monumental task because one little crack in the system could break the entire thing. But a revolution has been happening. You see, we've moved from that block of solid stone to something that is like a set of advanced interconnected Lego bricks. And that is why it's more important, or so important, for us to realize that if we don't understand the possibilities of these new Lego bricks, as it were, we'll still be designing for that solid stone block. We talk about the revolution. Now, the Headless and MACH explained. So this is a world of headless and composable architecture. Now, headless basically simply means we've cut the head off, which is the user interface, from the body. So the back-end systems, they're now decoupled, as it were. So at one point they were fused, now they are separated. And they're talking to each other through flexible channels called APIs, which makes it so much easier. And we'll talk about that a bit more on why. So Composable takes it a step further. It lets companies or brands pick the best tool for each job, how it can best fulfill the needs of the user if done in the right way. So for example, what's the best search engine? What's the best payment tool? What's the best content management or content system? What's the best media library for that brand that they can use to help their customers, as it were, to share or distribute information in the best way possible? See, this is the whole idea behind groups like the MACH Alliance, which provides a standard for this new world. So MACH stands for Microservices, small independent services basically, which instead of one giant backend, you can swap them out like Lego bricks, as we mentioned, or upgrade them without breaking the entire system. API first, which is the A. And that's everything that communicates through APIs. So it's a universal language basically of modern tech. And C, cloud native. See, this is basically something that's built for the cloud, making it scalable, making it flexible for brands or companies to use. And the H, of course, headless. been talking about headless now for a bit, haven't we? The front end and the back end systems being separated, decoupled from each other. Now, this isn't just a technical upgrade, it's a fundamental shift to what's possible for the user's experience. Now, it's a fundamental shift for the brand as well in how they offer services and create an overarching multi or omni-channel experience for their customers. So obsessing over this isn't about coding. It's about understanding the new physics of creation. Now, when you do, it means that it gives you 4 massive advantages as a leader. Now, these 4 advantages, how does this actually change your job? Well, let's break it down. Advantage number 1. You're going to be able to build real trust and speak the same language as others within your business, within your organization that you work for. That may not necessarily be designers as well. So let's be honest here. The relationship between design and engineering or development, see, that can be strained sometimes. It's not always roses and chocolates. Now, when a UX design leader doesn't get the basics of the tech stack, every no from engineering or development may feel like an arbitrary, but when you start to understand the fundamentals of a composable architecture, the whole conversation starts to change. So instead of, I want this to be more personalized, well, you could ask, as an example, now feel free to customize this for your own environment and situation and the individuals that you speak with, of course. So you could ask, can we use the new customer data API to pull the user's purchase history into this component? See, the first is a wish, and the second is a strategic question. So this builds massive bridges of trust. So you're starting to build this up because you're now understanding something that they are working within all the time. But on to advantage number 2. You're going to be unlocking true unconstrained innovation. You see, our designs used to be stuck in the website or the app. Composable architecture shatters those limits. Now, a leader who gets this can steer their team toward true omnichannel or multi-channel experience design, whatever the vision or goal is for your organization. Now, you can start to ask questions that were obviously impossible before. Now, since our product info is now a flexible microservice, how could we show it on our in-store displays, for example? Or could we use our headless CMS to power a guide on a VR headset? Now, obviously, these things depend on what you may offer your customers as a brand, whether that be tech or services or otherwise. But ultimately, a leader who doesn't understand the stack would never think to ask such things. Now, that's not necessarily his fault or her fault. It's simply because you just don't know. But this is why it's important to know, because you'll see the palette of capabilities, not a box of constraints. Advantage number 3. Now, you're going to radically improve your team's speed. Now, in the monolithic world, design waited for development and development waited for the full system to be ready. You see, it was a slow assembly line, but that's all one knew at that time. Now, with a decoupled architecture, your teams can start to work very differently. They can start to work in parallel. Now, a Tech-Fluent leader uses this, of course. So you're going to push for more rapid prototyping. For example, A/B testing in a new homepage is no longer a 6-month project, but it's a Tuesday or Wednesday. Whichever day you choose is that day. But you can confidently say yes to that last minute marketing campaign because you know the system is flexible enough to handle it. However, I must deliver a word of caution, guys. In order to confidently take on such demands, you really need to make sure that you have a good and established process in place in order to handle those demands that come in so you can deliver it confidently and that you can make sure that you back it up with the right lines of evidence along the way as well. Don't just deliver. Don't become that person on the conveyor belt line once again just because you get last minute demands or requests or asks that come in because of a business change in direction. These things are necessary, of course, and we do have to move and change and work and evolve and basically be adaptable. However, there is a process that you can apply to make sure you deliver the best each and every time. Now, you're going to finally be in a position to earn a real seat at the strategic table. or have the opportunity to grasp that seat at the table. Now, we talked about this in a previous video where we talked about the UX generalist and the ability for one to be able to show that you can build the table as well. And we're talking about this very same table. Now, for decades, we've fought for that seat at the table. Understanding the tech stack is really one of the final pieces to the puzzle, one of the final keys. Because now you can translate design decisions directly into the language of the business, especially if people around that table, whether that be the boardroom table or whatever kind of table it is. But we know that it's not primarily a design table. For example, that language of the business is about time, money, opportunity. So you can say, for example, by moving to a composable approach, we can cut time to market by 40% by reusing our existing payment services. You stop being seen as a service department where you're just pumping out designs, and you start to become a driving force for the business. Now, that's a real strategic influence and also a privilege to have as well. But with all of these teams moving quickly and all of this freedom now across the channels, how do you keep the brand from falling apart? See, that can be the real worry, right? It's like a kid in a candy store and you go, oh, where's the sweets? Oh, you've got that sale. And everybody just rushes into the store and in 5 minutes, all the shelves are basically or practically empty. How do you make sure that chaos doesn't basically break apart the store, so to speak? Well, you see, this is where our next topic becomes the critical anchor to what we're talking about. And that's the critical role of design systems. Now, when you have more than one or even 5 or 10 or even 20 different front ends, because you can with composable commerce, you can't rely on a PDF or a style guide to keep things aligned, especially if you have multiple channels. Let's just say, for example, you've got third party, you've got resellers, you've got partners across different parts of the world and different countries, basically representing your brand. It's going to be practically impossible and very inefficient to rely upon a style guide or a PDF to keep things aligned or even support them. You're going to find that you're unable to support those different distribution points or people that you may work with effectively. This is why a design system, a robust one, is no longer a nice to have. It's the absolute core of a successful composable strategy or a brand strategy, period, especially one that's international. Now, we're going to talk about this a lot more in a future video about design systems and the benefit of them, especially when it comes to businesses that may be international, or especially if you have a fast evolving brand as well that you may work for. Really crucial to understand. This design system, it really is a living library. It's organic. Basically, it's an organic system of reusable components, code and guidelines that really help designers and developers to use and build all of the experiences that are created. Now, when you update a component in the design system, it ultimately can be updated everywhere else. So it ensures consistency, it accelerates development, and it aligns everyone. Now, when you're building with Lego bricks, the design system is really your shared official instruction manual. And it's crucial because you've got two systems now that can work almost atomically, so to speak. So you need to have that bridge. And that's why design systems match so well with this new technological approach. Now, that's why the future is composable, and so is, of course, your leadership. Now, the shift from monolithic to composable is the single biggest change to the digital product of creation in a generation. It's reshaping our role as leaders. Now, we've seen how obsessing over this technology lets you build trust. It helps unlock innovation. It makes your team faster and claim that permanent, or have the opportunity at least to claim that respected seat at the strategic table. And it has another huge benefit. You can finally end the cycle of replatforming, or at least greatly reduce the possibility of that happening, because you can evolve your tech stack continuously instead of burning it down every few years, burning down everything and starting again and building it back up. That's really expensive, very inefficient, and really time consuming. And for the most part, Most organizations never fully finish a complete replatforming because there's too much to do. And before they've finished it, there's too much new technology and they've been left so far behind they have to start again. I've seen that a few times as well, and that is very sad to see with some brands. Now, the era of the tech-agnostic UX leader or design leader really is over. The leaders who will define the next decades will be ones who will see the tech stack, well, not as a constraint, but as a creative medium. They won't just design within the lines. They'll understand the technology so deeply that they can tell their teams and the CEO exactly where the lines need to be drawn. The future is composable. Your team is ready. Your users are waiting. Now, the only question is, are you ready to lead them there? But let me ask you, what are your biggest challenges in bridging the gap between design and development, between tech and how we work within UX? Drop a comment below. I'd love to hear from you and perhaps even talk about that in a future video. Stay present, stay curious. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.